Well, hey, I'm Dr. Hagmeyer, and in today's video, we're going to talk about something that I see all the time in my clinic, and that's Candida, or Candida albicans overgrowth, and why it doesn't go away. Maybe you've done Candida diets and antifungal herbs, and maybe even prescription medications, and while you may be feeling better for a while, the bloating, the sugar cravings, the brain fog, the infection always seem to come back. Why does this happen? Why is Candida so notoriously persistent? Well, that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. I'm going to explain the two biggest reasons Candida keeps coming back, go into biofilms and secretory IgA, why standard treatments almost always fail to address these issues, and what it really takes to finally break this cycle. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is quickly cover what we really mean by Candida overgrowth, right? Candida and Candida albicans is a type of yeast. It's a fungal organism that naturally lives in the mouth, the gut, the skin. And in a balanced microbiome, it's really kept under control by beneficial bacteria, by stomach acid, by bile acids, and the immune system. But when the gut and the ecosystem of the gut is disrupted, maybe it's because we're on antibiotics or birth control or acid blocking medication or stress or high diet, Candida can shift into what's called the hyphal or the fungal form. And in this state, it begins to grow these filaments that can penetrate the gut lining, trigger inflammation, and produce toxic byproducts like acetaldehyde, which then contribute to fatigue and brain fog and some of the mood changes that people report. People often experience bloating and gas. They experience cravings for sugar and carbs. They have recurring yeast or fungal infections. They have sinus issues or post-nasal drip. They continuously experience fatigue and cognitive fog. The challenge is even with when you use fungal herbs or antifungal herbs or prescriptions to kill the yeast, it rebounds within weeks or months. And that again, the question becomes, why is it so resilient? And again, biofilms and secretory IgA is what we need to talk about. All right, so we need to talk about biofilms, right? Biofilms are one of the main reasons that Candida is so hard to fully clear, right? Now, a biofilm is this slimy protective matrix that Candida and other microbes, gram-negative bacteria, produce in order to shield themselves from your immune system, but also from antifungal treatments. If you think of a biofilm like a fortress, right? And that biofilm is made up of sugars, polysaccharides, and proteins, and even metals like iron and magnesium, which Candida scavenge from your body. Now, inside these biofilms, Candida can hide from antifungal herbs and medications. They can share resistant genes with other microbes, and they survive in this dormant, low metabolic state until the coast is clear. In fact, studies show that Candida within those biofilms can be up to 1,000 times more resistant to antifungal drugs compared to free-floating yeast cells. Now, most treatments, whether it's nystatin and fluconazole or oregano oil, berberine, they barely scratch the surface when it comes to these biofilms unless specific strategies are used to disrupt these biofilms. This is why so many people feel good when they're killing, right, taking the antimicrobials, but then the symptoms always return once they stop. The Candida was never fully gone. It was just hiding in that protective shield. Now, to truly resolve Candida overgrowth, we often need to use, again, biofilm disruptors and enzymes such as serrapeptidase, nattokinase, certain botanicals, lactoferrin, EDTA, just to name a few. And again, these help break down that protective layer so that the antifungals can actually do what they're supposed to do. But here's the thing, biofilms aren't the only problem. The other major factor is your immune system defense, your mucosal immunity. Now, your gut has its own immune system, and one of its most important tools is something called secretory IgA or sIgA. sIgA is an antibody that your gut produces, and basically it's a first line of defense. It binds to microbes, it binds to toxins, it binds to allergens, and it neutralizes them before they really cause any problems. When secretory IgA levels are healthy, Candida and these other bacterial organisms are much less likely to overgrow because the immune system is actively keeping them in balance and in check. But here's the problem, right? In many people with chronic Candida, chronic infections, chronic stress, bad diet, these secretory IgA levels are low. Why does this happen? Well, again, chronic stress indicated by elevated cortisol will suppress secretory IgA production. Nutrient deficiencies like vitamin A, zinc, and glutamine can impair secretory IgA production. Chronic gut infections or inflammation can burn through secretory IgA reserves. And when secretory IgA is low, your gut is essentially defenseless. Even after you've done a Candida protocol, if your secretory IgA isn't repaired, isn't rebuilt, you can't stop the Candida and all these other opportunistic bacteria. They just keep coming back. Now, again, part of an effective long-term strategy has to be measuring these secretory IgA levels and then using nutrients, things like glutamine and colostrum and zinc and vitamin A, again, and various things to address those cortisol levels. Now, without addressing the immune piece, you're fighting Candida with one hand tied behind your back. All right, so when we put all of this together, most Candida protocols really fail for two major reasons. They don't disrupt the biofilms for long enough, and so much of the Candida population survives. They don't restore secretory IgA and gut immune function, so there's nothing to prevent the relapse. Instead, most treatments just focus on killing with antifungals and cutting out carbs and sugar and adding in some probiotic for good measure. But this is not going to work. While these can help short term, without addressing the protective fortress, the biofilms, the weak immune system, the Candida is going to quickly reestablish itself, and this can be a frustrating cycle that is followed with temporary relief, followed by relapse. All right, so if you've been struggling with Candida symptoms that just keep coming back, I want you to realize it's not your fault, and it's not that you haven't been disciplined enough. Sometimes patients think that they just didn't do everything exactly 100% perfect. The key is understanding the root reasons for the relapse: biofilms, low secretory IgA, and addressing both as part of a comprehensive functional medicine plan. Now, I will say that in past videos, I've covered specific ways we approach biofilm disruption and secretory IgA restoration, so you can finally stop chasing symptoms and start restoring balance for good. So I would recommend that you watch those videos. Again, you can find these videos either here or here, but if you're tired of just trying to figure this out on your own because this is not your area of expertise, you could reach out to my clinic. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video, learned a few new things. I'm Dr. Hagmeyer, and I'll see you in the next video.